Yep, volume's on. We're live.
Right. Okay, I call this meeting to order. Roll call. Maggie Williams. Rich B. and Cooley.
Present.
Wendy Newcomb.
Here.
Chris Carrier.
Present.
Danelle Allen, present. We are all here. Okay, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Or
Towards it.
especially
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I have an agenda adjustment. I would like to add an executive session at the end of the meeting. So that would go after information items.
and that executive session would be
Would be to do the
personnel evaluation.
personnel evaluation. Yes. Okay. So could I have a motion? Motion for that or no?
Yeah, we do that.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
And I would like also to propose an adjustment.
Mhm.
I would like to add an action item, personnel hiring Karen Knox as our part-time interventionist. I'll speak more about that when we get to it.
So we need a motion.
So moved.
A second.
Second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. Okay. Okay, so that would be, let's see. Okay, I would like a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, October 25th, 2022. Wow,
So moved.
thank you.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Public comments. Anybody want to say anything? I hope you all had a lovely holiday. Okay, superintendent's report.
Thank you. Excuse me, brief update tonight. The operations committee met just prior to our workshop. We reviewed the set of as-built drawings that were that we commissioned through a drafting firm. So we now have actual drawings of our school, which will serve as a base for any future capital improvement or addition work that we choose to go forward with. We also looked at an upcoming facilities analysis report, which we've contracted for through an engineering firm. We hope by the end of January to be able to have professional insight into all systems in the building. Together with the drawings will serve as the basis for our capital improvement plan, which I promised to bring to you last June. I failed. I promised to bring it to you by this June, and we're going to do it. I'd also like to hold off on part of my report to speak about Kathy Stankard when we get to the nomination for our support positions. And that's it for me.
Okay. Do we have a presentation this evening?
We do.
Ah, yes.
So I'll take a minute to kind of review what we're going to talk about today, so I don't have to move the camera and have it right up in my face as I do it. So today we're going to give a short presentation of our ELA programming. We're going to talk a little bit about NWA scores and how the school is moving forward to support our ELA program, pre-K through 2. Jen Elsesser is going to help me with that. So it's just going to take me a second. I've got to redirect the screen and we will begin.
And I will fill in that time.
Good, you can fill in that time. Although I'm taking the screen off you, Dave.
And everybody is happier for that. The committee asked the superintendent to have more opportunities to see into our day-to-day practice in the school. So what we structured is a series of presentations, beginning with the pre-K2 literacy. We'll follow that in December with 3-5 math. And then January, we'll look at our health program, because we are probably bringing forward requests to revise our health program budget. So to give you the background you need to make smart choices in your budgeting, we'll do health. And then we'll follow up in February with our 4th and final for the year presentation. I think at that point, we're going to look at student support, kind of a follow-up from our special ed state audit to what we do for our students and their instructional and academic needs.
All right, so today we're going to give you just a little snapshot of our pre-K through 2 literacy program, which the literacy program is really, the resource it's really supported by is Literacy Footprints, that we spend a significant amount of money to support staff in ELA. And we're going to start out with pre-K and work our way through grade 2. And Jen will begin.
Certainly. Here you can see Mrs. Layton's pre-K classroom. And in pre-K, we use pre-K for me and Learning Without Tears. And they also follow the main early learning development standards, the MELDS. The pre-K for me program is used across the state of Maine, and the 6 units it contains are family, friends, wind, water, world of color, shadows and reflections, and things that grow. And each unit has designated books for repeated reading. And there is a writing center and book center visited by students each day. Songs, wordplay, and letters are done in circle each day. And each week, students engage in a literacy small group center. And you can see there are some pictures of them engaging in those centers. Next, this is their Handwriting Without Tears book. It also comes with handwriting wooden pieces that the kids can manipulate and make letters, their name and words. And students learn to write 3 letters every week, and they use wood pieces, chalkboards, and workbooks. And you can see that Learning Without Tears is also in the older grades as well, which is a nice carryover. And here's kindergarten. You can see that in kindergarten, we also use Handwriting Without Tears. And Literacy Footprints, probably the biggest portion of Literacy Footprints in the kindergarten classroom is guided reading groups daily. And that starts after our kindergarten jumpstart, which is the first 26 days of school. And here you can see 2 students. This is Frankie and Parker. And I thought it'd be nice just to start with a little read to self from both of them. So here's Frankie reading one of her guided reading books.
I can do it. I can run. I can swim. I can fly. I can sing. I can slide.
So there's Miss Frankie after she was in a reading group with me. And here's Parker, and he's reading one of his books he did in October in reading group.
I am a ghost. I am a witch. I am a lion. I am a pirate. I am a quail. Trick or treat.
So those were both level A books. And at the beginning of the year in kindergarten, usually we start with level A and level B books. And they feature pattern text, which provides early readers with opportunities to develop concepts of print, a small core of sight words, and some very early decoding skills, such as using the first letter of the sound in words. And beginning at level C, each text is designed to support students in using a combination of sight words and decoding skills. And they're carefully written to help students make more meaning from the story and also gain comprehension skills. And guided reading and read to self help students build accuracy, fluency, and comprehension skills when reading. And the end of the year benchmark for kindergarten is a level C or a D. And we currently in kindergarten have 3 students already reading at a level C. And that is thanks to this wonderful program and these enriching books that they get to read every day. So we're really excited to use this program every day. And another piece of guided reading is also guided writing. And most lessons end in a guided writing piece. And you can see this is the kindergarten journal up in the corner, the pink journal that we use in kindergarten. And each grade level has one of those journals. And every lesson in Literacy Footprints also has a 2-day lesson plan. So these are just 2 examples. This is Busy Clarence. He's one of our characters that we see in kindergarten. And that kind of just goes through the different steps, the word work, the dictation, syllabication. Sometimes we work on syllables of words, decoding practice, uppercase and lowercase letters and sounds at the beginning of the year. And here we have Kennedy at the bottom, and she's working on one of her writing pieces after she read one of the books, Look Up. And we have a good combination of both fiction and nonfiction books in Literacy Footprints, which is nice.
And I'm glad I didn't. I kept moving Kennedy's picture, rotating it, and I'm glad I didn't, because now I see why you put it that way. Because you noticed when you were working on the slide deck. All right. And now we're at first grade.
So our language arts curriculum is enriched by many different programs and materials, and all play a really important role in our growing Sebago elementary students' development of reading and writing. And Literacy Footprints really rises to the top. It provides children small group and individualized plans to strengthen their reading skills and love for reading. And you can see this is the first grade slide. And here are examples of 2 of the books, Big Trucks, and then you can see another book on dogs. There are 2 lessons per book. nonfiction titles rich with text features, high quality photographs, and interesting topics. And those topics really speak to kindergartners, first graders, and second graders. They really love the topics. They see it in the books every day. And the fiction titles share returning popular characters, they're very engaging, relatable plots, additional features like Reader's Theater and informational pages. And you'll see an example of Reader's Theater in the second grade slide. Book baskets on student shelves allow children to keep engaging with their books once they have moved on to new titles in first grade. And here's a peek at guided reading in first grade and what small group lessons include. They include sight word work, previewing new texts, shared individual partner reading, reading strategy instruction during reading, before, during, after comprehension discussions, word studies, building words, sorting cards, and word family writing, guided writing and open-ended book response, and continued engagements with text during DEAR and on the digital reader for homework to help build fluency. And Literacy Footprints also has a digital piece where parents can read some of the books that they've read during guided reading time. And they can also do that during the school day, which is very nice.
Jen. Deer? What's deer? It has a
deer.
different meaning in Sebago. Usually ends up in my freezer.
So in first grade, I call it read to self, and in kindergarten, and in first grade, Mrs. Bennett calls it DEAR time. So that stands for drop everything and read.
Oh.
So, and it varies from classroom to classroom. Sometimes DEAR time is 15 minutes. Sometimes it can go up to 25 minutes. So, and the kids love it. And here we are at second grade, and you can see in second grade, Mrs. Vacchiano uses a variety of multicultural nonfiction and main literature for their book studies each week. And these stories allow students to make connections to our science and social studies units as well. And centers during small group reading time include word work to align with weekly phonic lessons, Zahner Bloger handwriting, which includes cursive, starting in second grade, Sparks, read to self and read to someone, again, the DEAR time, comprehension checks, reading passages that align with their book units. And here she has a great video of Reader's Theater and Literacy Footprints.
So here is their play.
Hi, Jack. Come out and play. I have my super dog suit on. We can be super dogs today. Okay, that will be fun. I like playing the super dogs. Dad, let's start a club. We can be the Super Dog Club. Who will be in our club? Here is Midnight's house. Let's see if Midnight will be in our club. Hi, Midnight. You want to be in our Super Dog Club? No, I do not want to be your Super Dog Club. I'm a cat.
And I think they were distracted by Miss Bennett from next door.
Here is their play.
There we go.
And Mrs. Vacchiano also uses Seesaw to communicate with her families. Here's an example of one of the books, We Love to Swim, one of her students reading.
We love to swim.
A. Okay.
And how is that shared with families?
So Seesaw, it's an app that parents can use, or they can log in on a laptop or another device. And I don't know if you can click back on that picture from Mrs. Vacchiano, but if you look down in the lower left-hand side, parents can respond to their children reading. Mrs. Vacchiano then responded to the student as well. We used it more often, at least in kindergarten. I used it more often during the pandemic because it was a way for us to communicate to parents and children when they weren't in the classroom, but it's also used by teachers now as homework and also to showcase what they're learning in the classroom.
And the NWA data, I'm going to show it right from the website after the presentation. We'll talk about how our kindergarten through grade 2 did during the fall benchmark. So our reading intervention program, Leslie McCall is our reading interventionist, and she'll soon be joined by Karen Knox, which is exciting. But our reading intervention, any student who's below grade level is eligible for supplemental instruction through our intervention program. I wanted her to really kind of share with you the process, and our process is we use several points of data to determine if a kid needs support in our Title I room. So we use NWA scores, DRA assessments, report card standards, including letter knowledge, sight words, and teacher observations are taken into consideration to determine if a student needs intervention help. We use the LLI kit or the LLI program to provide supplemental instruction for our students. Running records from this program are administered regularly, providing us that ongoing data and progress monitoring. Students are seen individually or in small groups 3 to 4 times a week. And when students are meeting the standards, they're dismissed at that point. Oftentimes at the beginning of the year, we have students that are still considered part of our Title I program or our intervention program, and they'll immediately come into the classroom at the beginning of the year. The teachers have an opportunity to also refer other students for that. The one thing that we're doing as we move forward next year, we have a committee put together to look at our RTI processes and protocols, looking at our data, what data we're going to use to determine if a student needs intervention. And so they're going to be working on that between now and May, and hopefully next year we have a new process so that there's no question what kind of data we need to refer a student, and teachers know the process, and I think it will make it a lot more seamless. So to support our literacy program, when I got here this summer, I sat with a couple staff members and really talked about, as we look at our professional development for the beginning of the school year, what is something that really stands out? What is something that we think staff needs? And literacy footprints at that point, if I'm not mistaken, Randa, we have for 2 years already.
Second year.
And a lot of teachers really wanted more PD on the digital reader. And so I reached out to Literacy Footprints, and Emily Wayman came and spent the day with us. and provided instruction on the digital reader, along with the benchmark assessments, with the progress monitoring tools. Really gave us a nice overview of formative assessments as well, so that teachers could start the beginning of the year feeling a lot better about the program and knowing how to utilize all the tools. When October came, prior to October in a staff meeting, I put out a survey to staff to find out what other PD that they thought would be important. And one of the things that stood out is writing. The school wanted to look at how we can strengthen our writing programs. And so I reached out to an old friend, Barry Lane, and he came out for a half a day and did a presentation on For the Love of Writing. And he focused on narrative writing, or a lot of his focus is in narrative writing, but Barry likes to sing as well and engage teachers. So he has a lot of song and then weaves in the writing piece, which was really nice. During that time, staff also indicated that they really wanted to have a better sense of how to use data to inform instruction. And so I reached out to another old friend, Reed Dyer from Great Schools Partnership, and asked him if he could work with me and put something together for staff. And he came out, and really what he wanted to do is kind of work through protocols and, what are those systems we use to look at that to inform our instruction. Reed was a kindergarten teacher, instructional coach, building principal. I don't know if he's a curriculum director, but he's got a lot of experience, and he's a person that's very approachable. So staff really, even though data didn't sound like an exciting 3 hours, they really had a nice time. And so moving forward, now that we have NWA scores from our fall benchmark, Reed's coming back in December for our PLC half day on a half day Wednesday. And that's where we're going to focus on what NWA data is most helpful to inform and drive our instruction. And there you can see the proposed outcomes: strengthen core approaches to data analysis, data-informed instruction, how to analyze the data, and establish expectations going forward on how we as a school will use NWA data to inform what we do and support students. And then we're looking forward to the spring in March, where we're going to bring Reed back. Another piece of that survey is staff indicated they wanted to look at what high impact approaches to instructional practice. And so Reed was more than happy to come on and work with the team again. And, right now I have it listed as, looking at the workshop model, small groups, differentiating instruction. But really in December, I'm going to sit with the staff and kind of, what do we need? What do we think we need support? And so that will change between now and then. And then we're going to spend a half day in March with Emily Wayman again from Literacy Footprints. We're going to chat in December about potentially moving away from the DRA and using the benchmark assessment that Literacy Footprints provides, because the text in Literacy Footprints is way more engaging and certainly more real to kids today than the older books that came with the DRA. And so she's going to come out, or she's going to potentially be remote and kind of walk teachers through how to do the assessment, score the assessment, and then we're going to calibrate the assessment so that all teachers in the school have the same sense of how to read that assessment. And so that's how we plan on supporting staff through the rest of the school year. And then, of course, we'll look forward to next year from there.
John, just one quick sec. I also want to point out that professional development is made possible because of the committee's action to join the Alphon Compact for workforce development. So all of the professional development that John just went over with you has been fully funded by our partnership with the Alphon Compact.
Great.
So if you remember, we have up to $1,200 per staff person this year and up to $600 per person next calendar year. So we've been able to supplement our local budget and provide some additional professional learning.
And I'd like to add on to that how important it is as we go year to year into the budget to determine what we need for professional development moving forward, to continually provide staff with the professional development they need to be the best they can be and to support our kids. So, all right. So now to the NWAs. So I was really looking at what reports to present that would give you the best picture of how our kids did. And I'm going to start with kindergarten, first and second grade. Go figure. It's happened to me all day, but let's pull up give me a minute to pull up the reports and we'll go one at a time.
And I will do context. State of Maine is using the Northwest Evaluation Association's measures of academic progress test in the fall and the spring to do two things, one of which the test can do, one of which can't, to show growth from beginning to end of the year in reading and math, and that it can do and can do very well. And also to try to meet our federal requirements for achievement testing in grades 3 through 8, which it doesn't do. And we continue as a state of Maine to get dinged by the feds. But so far we've treated them as just noise out there. And what we found is that it gives us some actual really interesting data, a good look at our students, and that's where John will pick up.
And go figure. It's not allowing me to pull it back up. I'll give us, but I will tell you that in kindergarten, this is their first year taking the NWA, and all of kindergarten, if I'm not mistaken, all of kindergarten met the national average, which was nice to see. All of first grade met the national average, which was nice to see as well. Or kindergarten met the national average, first grade did, and second grade had two students that, or the second grade was 2 points below the national average. So our primary grades did really well in the NWA. And the thing to consider is the NWA fall benchmark is really our starting point. And what we really look at is spring to spring data to do a comparison of where they were the same time last May as they will be this year. And we're looking, it's a growth model. So we're really looking at not did they reach a bar, but did they grow the expected growth over time? And that to me, that's the important piece is the growth part of it. So obviously it's not going to work for me. But I can, for the board, once I can get it going, print something out and provide you with that so you can take a look at that as well. I'll just take off the kid part at the bottom.
And John, I know the committee kind of charged the superintendent with communicating to parents about NWA scores and of assessments. How did the superintendent do on that? Did we communicate to parents?
Well, I know during the parent-teacher conference, a family report was printed out for every child in the building and given to the teachers to hand out during parent-teacher conference. So they should.
I'm looking down at Maggie who brought that up.
I probably brought it up. The one thing I will say, which might be helpful just for parents in general, because I was really curious on, like you said, how each grade did as a whole.
Mhm.
So that's just as a parent, because I mean, yes, we want to see how our kids are doing, but it's also, I think, good to see how the classes are doing as a whole, because it shows are your programs working or not.
Well, the great thing is when we do the math, 3 through 5 math presentation, I'll start with NWA data and we'll review the reading for the primary grades so that you can see that. And I'll print you a copy so you can take a look.
Maybe we'll do kind of a high level overview of our fall baseline or benchmark data.
Yeah, I'm just
And post
thinking,
it up.
because I'm just thinking like whether you use like the school website just to say, for the fall,
Mhm.
and, maybe do a little blurb, just what you said. It's like, we're not expecting children to hit a certain benchmark. We want to see where they're at in the fall.
Yeah.
This is the grades, this is what they reached. And like you said, kind of give what you said. And like in the spring, we will evaluate it again and we hope for growth. Because I think, like you said, a lot of parents get really confused on what these tests are.
Yeah.
I know this last parent-teacher conference, it made it a lot easier because I think you guys had kind of prepared the teachers to say, look, these are what the parents are asking. They did a much better job this time around to say, this is what it means. Because in past years, I got that piece of paper and I'm like,
Mhm.
great, what am I looking at?
Well, I'll tell you that the key for me is that in the fall benchmark, as a teacher, I use that data to drive my instruction. I look at where my kids are, I create my groups.
Yep.
So that's what I do with that data. And then I work towards the spring benchmark to say, did all that work that we put in from August to or September to May, did it work?
Right.
Did we do the right things? Did we make the right decisions? And so that's why I say we use spring to spring to kind of gauge growth over time. But the fall benchmark's really for the teachers to drive their instruction.
Okay.
And I think you touched on something really important, because I think if we look at like, is every third grader, fifth grader, second grader where they're supposed to be, it's very individual to that child. There are some kids who may never make that national benchmark, but if they started the school year here and they made this much growth, that's equally worthy of celebrating. So I think there's some education around that. Like we teach all kids,
To me,
and
it's
that
all
looks
about growth.
different.
To me, it's all about growth.
Yeah.
And in the spring, 'cause that's exactly what we do percent,
Exactly.
is percentage of students who met their individual growth targets.
Mhm.
So Janelle and I would get a growth target in the fall.
Mhm.
It would start in a different place and go a different amount.
Mhm.
We would work all year, and then in the end, we'd be able to say, both made our growth target.
Mhm.
And finally, I'd like to say about the NWA, there's a lot of data for teachers to look at. And I think the importance of the professional development we're doing around NWA data is going to strengthen teachers' ability to take that data and use it, not just use it, but take that data and share it with the families as well.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's great.
Comments?
Thank you. This was one,
Yes.
Jen,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you
this
for
was
being
great.
here late at
Thank you
night.
so much. Yes.
And the videos were wonderful. It's
They
great
drew-
to
they
get some.
drew straws.
Yeah.
That's how she got it.
And Jen no longer has the newest preschool, pre-K student in school. Your daughter was the newest for about a day,
Yes.
and then we
she's
got
doing
an
so well.
11th
Yeah.
pre-K student just before the.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah, so Jen made a great decision to have her daughter join us, and Sebago's a welcoming community, and we're happy to have her.
Thank you.
And very happy to have
She
Jen.
gets excited every morning to wake up and come to school with Mrs. Russo and Mrs. Layton.
I
So it
know.
makes my heart very happy.
Nice. Well, thank you very much. That was exactly what we had been asking for.
Nice.
Yes,
Thank you.
and we love seeing the kids themselves reading. That was a good part of it. Okay, continue on.
Continue on.
All right. Principals report.
All right. I thought I was done, but that was my report.
That was not your report.
So we just got done obviously the NWA benchmark in October. We're moving into the holidays now. Staff meets on December 7th for the first time in 2 months. But it's a really important meeting where we're going to discuss new committee work. The new committees will be an RTI committee. We're working on multi-tiered supports. So we'll be looking at social emotional RTI. We'll be looking at academic RTI. We also are putting a PBIS committee together to begin to create common language and common expectations for students. So no matter what grade or where a student is in the school, they know what the expectation is.
John, PBIS.
Yeah, positive behaviors and interventions and support. It's really about having conversations with students that are positive throughout the day, and where students know what to expect, no matter who they're with. So that committee is going to start their work. That's a 3-year process, sometimes 4-year process. So we're just at the beginning stages of it, and hopefully the state approves to take us on in March. And if they do, then that's where the work begins. And there'll be some professional development for some of the staff around PBIS moving forward to be kind of the coaches of the school and to drive that work. And so, and you saw what's coming up soon. We do have a PTC is working on a family movie night. So hopefully we have that within the next couple of weeks. And then there is a holiday concert, chorus and band coming up on the 20th. And letters should be going out to families of students involved in that. But beyond that, we're just getting ready for the holidays and moving into the winter with some professional development and just getting better and getting closer every day and working together. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you.
It's just that you.
Oh, okay. All right, Chairwoman's report. At the end of our meeting, we will be having an executive session to go over the superintendent's evaluation. Am I giving that or you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we discussed in our workshop tonight, the process, it's very beginning, but the process that we're looking at in searching for a new superintendent. We're in the very beginning stages. My feeling is I would like us to have Steve Bailey from the Maine School Management Association come and advise us on best practice and what he feels we need to do. He knows our school, he knows our school committee, he knows what our particular needs are. He has been a good mentor for me when I had to take over being chair. Nobody else wanted it. So I believe that's the next step in the process.
And our timeline, depending on the feedback we get, will be soon after the start of the new year, beginning to move the process forward to give, ensure adequate time to both find a great candidate and then have them on board while I'm still around. Hopefully a seamless process. We'll keep you posted.
Even though we don't want you to come.
I understand it. Not my choice. It's
No.
my choice, but not my choice.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. I just would like to say that participating in the trunk or treat was so fun. It was great. And I think I want to say I counted something like 28 cars.
We had a
Is
lot
that
of
what,
people
is that what
this
we
year.
had? There was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun. My mother wants to do it again next year. So that's good.
Can I add that I
Yes.
thought that the Fall Fest was something that was really a lot of fun, and it seemed like a lot of the kids loved it, and a lot of people from the community came out to help. So I just thought I would throw that in there too. That was a nice day.
Thanks.
I'm
Celebrate.
sorry I had to miss that
I
one,
know, but you
I
did the
heard
try.
great things about the Fall
It
Fest.
was great.
Yeah. Okay. And that concludes the chairwoman's report. Action items. I need a motion
For
for the nomination of Kathy Stankard as a part-time assistant superintendent of schools.
So moved.
There we go.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any discussion?
before that, may I?
Yes.
Thank you. So Kathy so we posted the position. We actually had 10 to 12 applicants. It gave me great hope about the previous item of the superintendent search. Kathy is somebody that I have worked with for a long time. I shared her resume. You've met her in the workshop. I just think that understanding Kathy's commitment to both students and her craft is important. Kathy worked through the process of becoming nationally board certified as a high school English social studies teacher. And it is like the one national standard that teachers can aspire to. And, from that time on, watching Kathy grow as both an educator and a leader has been really great. She's worked in a good number of districts around the greater Portland area. And, as Maggie's husband, Joe, was poking at in our operations meeting, understanding that Sebago is Sebago and unique and special, and understanding that this circumstance is unique and special. Both of those pieces give me great confidence that Kathy will help us get through the school year seamlessly, continuing what we started. And I would ask the committee to consider her nomination the positive.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
We're grateful to have you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Kathy.
Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
She'll need an email address.
And a long business card.
Yes.
Interim part-time.
We'll just stack it.
You can have whatever fun adjectives you want.
Okay, B, affirmative action plan revision first reading. So we just,
Yeah, so
it's,
make the motion.
okay, so we need a motion to have this be the first read of our affirmative action plan.
So moved.
Seconded. Okay, any discussion?
So this is something that we should do on an annual basis. We look to guidance from legal counsel and Maine School Management to note any changes at the federal or state level. Very few revisions this year, primarily around taking individuals' names out, updating anybody who is named in the policy to be a current employee. And we will look at it in a little more detail at the workshop before next meeting, and then you'll vote on it after that.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, and C,
Is the nomination of Karen Knox as a .6 intervention teacher.
can you tell us a little bit about Karen?
She's a rock
Do the
star.
motion, do the
We
motion,
work together.
do the motion, do the second.
Okay, we need a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay,
So Karen is currently serving our contracted English language learner support person. She has a long connection to our school. She did this role at Sebago when we were part of SAD 6-1. She and I might have the most similar resumes as far as weaving both the education and hospitality industries on a rotating basis into our lives. Karen's passionate about students. She's passionate about supporting students, whether they're learning English, whether they are learning math, or whether they're learning to read, to catch up, where, from where they are to where we want them to grow into. She is at a point where she feels that more time in the school is going to work for her. We are incredibly happy that she chose this time to come back. This position was an ed tech position. Willow Timothy resigned to take a job at Lake Region Middle School, which we both hate her for, but really professionally, it is such the right move. In thinking together with John and staff, with the financial constraints, the choice was hire a part-time teacher or a full-time ed tech to finish the year, same dollar figure. And the recommendation was to go with a teacher, more experience, more flexibility, and we'll build the schedule around that. I met with Karen today. She is excited. We're excited. And, again, I can't say enough about how fortunate we are to continue to attract high quality, full employment at Sebago Elementary this school year. So fingers crossed, when you act on Karen Knox, we'll be back up to full employment.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Thank you so much.
Okay, discussion items. Are we still reviewing the perpetual calendar?
I don't think we need to right now.
Okay, so we will,
It is part of the minutes. People can take a look at it. This is what committee uses to guide it.
everybody has their perpetual calendar, the most up-to-date one, okay. All righty. The ski program. Do you want to speak first or would you like to speak first?
Duke it
That's
out.
Chris.
All right, there you go.
So backstory, there were lots of family members in the community. There was kind of this conversation, how come kids in Sebago don't ski anymore? It's something a lot of the districts around here have done for decades. So the hurdles seemed a little bit big at first. There were issues around transportation, insurance, scheduling, volunteers and instructors, training. David pretty quickly was able to help us with the transportation hurdle. So we do have busing for Sebago kids to go on their early release days. With lots of back and forth, we've been able to be insured through Chalmers under the Pleasant Mountain Ski Club insurance plan, even though that club goes on Mondays, our kids will be going on Wednesdays. That's something we have to talk about in the future. Do we want all of our kids to have the same early release days? That's a bigger fish to fry later on. Scheduling, our kids will be able to attend on the early release days that are already scheduled. In the future, I'd like to propose an additional 2 afternoons in January so they can go the full 5 days that all area kids get to go. Volunteers was the thing I was probably sweating bullets the most about. We seem to be in a really good place right now. Ideally, I would love to have more for in case there's an absence. I would love to have kids see the same consistent friendly face those 5 Wednesdays on the mountain. I'd also love to see at least 2 adults with each group of kids for safety, there's just a lot of reasons behind that. And to have a few more additional people to stay in the lodge for when kids have to come in to go to the bathroom or if they just need a break. But it's looking like it might actually happen, which is really exciting. I sent out a survey. The mountain was requiring at least 20 participants. They got sick of me bugging them, so they agreed to allow 2nd grade too, where we're such a small school, like 20 kids is a lot of kids. Those participation surveys that have come back, we have 24 participants as of today, 24. And my proposal at this point is any additional ones that trickle in will have to be waitlisted until we can get the extra volunteers. Ideally, I'd love to have every kid that wants to come, but safety is hugely important. So we're moving right along. I have registration forms that we're tweaking to suit the needs of this program that will be coming out hopefully in the next week. But yay, we're looking like it's going to happen. So next steps are just recruiting a few more additional volunteers. It's one of those things where apparently this is mine. So I'd love to find another co-facilitator to kind of help out, just because that would be really helpful. Next steps too are talking with John and Morgan around how we want to handle school lunches on those early release days for those kiddos. So it's the least disruptive here at school and what that could look like. And I'll be submitting a proposal, or we'll be talking about the best way to facilitate those 2 additional afternoons for the ski program kids. The other kids will have a normal school day, which is pretty standard practice around surrounding districts. And then again, that whole future consideration around if we want our kids to participate in Pleasant Mountain Ski Club on the same day as SAD 61, it would be helpful for families that have kids in multiple schools. There are pros and cons to both. On a Monday, it's really crowded at the mountain. I kind of like that our little group is going on a separate day. Again, that's something maybe a committee can be formed to kind of explore the options, but.
Yes, question. What time is early release and what time does the ski program start?
So kids leave school by noon on those Wednesdays, and the very precise answer is going to depend on like the lunch situation. And the best time for that bus to be in and out to not prevent any kind of log jams with the kids that are leaving at the same time.
So what time does the ski program start?
By 1 would be the guess, but it kind of depends on lunch and whether we want those kids to be dismissed before the rest of the school, which is how other schools kind of handle it, but we can talk more about that.
How long is the program? Like if they get there at 1, how long are they there for?
So again, that's kind of a detail to be determined. It will be like a full school day, like a typical after school time. One thing I'm working on, the mountains agreed to provide mountain trained volunteers for each group so that any of the volunteers that we have can shadow with them and train with them and then take the kids after their lesson. So my guess at this point is around back at school by 3:30. I'm still working out those details.
Okay.
The reason why I ask is because David's smiling at me because he couldn't help it. When you mentioned like adding more half days to next year.
Not adding more necessarily.
Well, so that's why I was asking how long, because
It's 5 days.
Is there any objection to kids doing the ski club, after a regular school day, say from like, they can get out maybe a little early, say they get out at 2, so you can get to the mountain by 3, and they end at like 5 or 5:30. I'm just asking because I know when I was growing up, they didn't have half days, and ski club was when the day was done.
Right.
So, and they do have night skiing, so it's not like it's, they close the mountain at 4.
Right.
They have night skiing. So
There's a lot to that. Right now I'm one person trying to take blood from a stone and find volunteers. If I could have some people who are willing, and Wendy has volunteered to coach skiing. But it's, again, I think we have a lot of people that want these things, but aren't exactly stepping up to help make it happen. I love that too.
Some of us have kiddos that can do the ski program, and then the first grader that can't.
Right, it's
Daddy
tricky.
does not split the two.
Right,
So-
and a lot of us we're working full time, so it's hard.
And I don't know if, you haven't been here for the ski program.
I was a teacher for the ski program in Lake Region.
Oh, you
So
were?
when Sebago
Okay.
attended.
So we
and in
had it,
Freiburg.
traditionally, it was always around 1 or 1:30 to 3.
Mhm.
And the part of that, what was good, was that the kids are fresh. They get really tired by 3:30. They're tired. And a couple of hours is good.
Yeah.
And then they always go in for a snack or whatever. But and that way, then they get home back to the school around 3:30 or so, give or take. But that's why I think that, and that's what Lake Region has done traditionally. It's always been around 1 o'clock or something like that, 1:30. But I like the Wednesday I approach because there's less kids. That
on Monday,
lodge is like
crazy.
Monday Night Madness. Like it's just,
Yeah,
I like
it's-
the idea of our small group going on a less
I
crowded
I feel
day.
like it's safer and the kids, there would be less people on the slopes and the kids get better instruction and all that, but that's my opinion.
I would think too, as long as the mountain doesn't have a problem with this school doing it on a different day.
They
then why change it?
Well, I agree. I think
Part of
that's-
there's a lot to figure out, but part of it was working with Pleasant Mountain Ski Club, which is separate from the mountain. They've facilitated this program since, the 80s. Like they've got a really solid program. We were able to be under their insurance plan for this year. I don't know if that's the case for next year, so it's all stuff to kind of figure out.
And good work getting that
Right.
was awesome.
That was great. And what are the
Yeah, fingers
dates
crossed.
then, Chris, that we have?
It's the three existing early release days, January 4th, 18th, and February 1st. But I'd like to propose those 2 additional days in January, the 11th and 25th. I think those 5 days, just having it be consistent. Another struggle, I didn't want to have volunteers who could come sometimes, and other times I'd really like kids to see the same consistent face so they can form relationships and build trust. So
Plus they'll learn better if they
Yeah.
have 5 days
Right.
versus 3. That's not very
or if
much
there's
time.
lots of weeks in between, like,
Right.
trying to be developmentally
But,
responsive.
so let me know,
Mhm.
who you need for lodge duty and stuff like that, because we have a spice meeting on
Awesome.
tomorrow. And I can recruit them if I know what time that they would need
Awesome.
to be at the lodge and
That'd be
that
great.
kind of thing. So hopefully we can make this work.
Thank you
we can.
for taking this on.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And I
Yes.
will help you.
Fingers crossed. It's looking good.
And I referred her to you and to John as far as 2 additional days.
Mhm.
That's. Discuss it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, 2022-23 school committee goals. Did we get those?
You're coming down
They're
now.
coming down. There you go.
So this is a not quite mid-year check-in on the 3 goals that we established for the school committee at our August retreat. They are up top and under the heading of by June 30th.
Okay. A was develop and assess a Sebago School Committee process and timeline to provide oversight of curriculum and instruction and the monitoring of student achievement.
So the first presentation tonight is part of this. Depending on the committee's interest, we can do additional data if that is what the committee wants to charge me with, to kind of fill in the 4 presentations for the year. But our goal is, through a series of presentations, we'll be able to see our take and then ask your questions related to curriculum instruction in different contexts. So if what you saw today is good as a first try at this, let us know if there are things you want to see that align to that goal. Let us know and we will tweak going forward.
Can I ask a question on this one?
Yep.
So where we just got all the information for the NEA, the testing, we won't get those again until spring, correct? Like in theory.
We will not have new NWA.
So my question is where you're asking, like, is there another way that the teachers can basically let us know how they're doing prior to spring? Like say in February or March, or maybe probably February, like, is there a way to say, this is how they did in the fall? This is the halfway point. I didn't know if there was something that you guys used besides those testing that you do in the fall and the spring. Kind of like give us an idea. Of how
Or
they're
through
doing.
RTI possibly. I wonder if that would be.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of data points that are used throughout the year, DRA data points are used throughout the year in reading. I think we have a DRA coming up in January that we report out around February time.
Okay.
NWA is giving the winter benchmark, but most people don't consider it to be very accurate because it's much shorter of a test.
Okay.
But DRA,
I think
we do have a, don't we do a spring parent teacher conference releases?
so. As it's currently lined up, I'm sorry, Tom. As it's currently lined up, February is the meeting where we would look at student supports. In our fourth presentation, the fourth one. At that point, we will have more classroom-based assessment data in reading and math. I think that's really appropriate, Maggie.
Okay,
And
yeah, that's
we'll
why.
look at it, through the lens of on target,
Right.
on
That's more
target
what I was kinda
support,
curious on.
not really on target.
Yeah.
So we'll use those categories
Okay,
and do a report out by grade.
okay, that works. Okay.
Any other questions or comments on that one? B, develop and assess a Sebago School Committee subcommittee structure with respective responsibilities and processes.
So that's the one that we were going to work through with the two study groups. Looking at before and after care opportunities and looking at generating what we need to know about grade 6 coming back to the elementary school. So Maggie, on the before and after, you've kind of taken the lead on that one. Kind of.
Yeah, actually, I have spoken to three other communities so far. I'd like to talk to, honestly, 2 more, only because the other ones that I talked to are a little bigger than Sebago. I got a lot of good information out of it. I just don't know that it compares to this area. So the last one I talked to, she gave me some really good ones to say, try this town and this town, because one of them especially just basically got a full-time rec department last year. So they're kind of in the same boat we are, because our rec department is only part-time right now. And for us to try to do a before and after care, you would need a full-time rec service. So like I said, I'd like to talk to those 2, hopefully in the next month. So hopefully by the next meeting, I will have more information to actually kind of lay it out and to just say, this is what I found so far. And at that point, it would be more, I hate to say it at that point, whether it's me or Rich or anybody else who is willing to do it, maybe go to a town hall meeting and just ask, say, this is what we've discovered. Is it possible?
Yeah, it's gonna be a budget item.
Right.
And there's a new town manager.
Yes. So that's kind of where I'm at. So, like, I don't have all of my information. I've got probably half of what I want. Unfortunately, like I said, the ones that I've talked to are much bigger communities than ours. So even though I like what they've done, I'm like, yeah, your budget's way bigger.
Yeah.
But in the same token, one of them that I talked to had a really good idea, because when they started, they said, well, the town supplies this certain budget, and it wasn't very big. And they said, we only draw like a certain salary from that. Everything else, they basically made their own slush fund budget. So every program they do, they use the funds for that to basically go back into the programs. And
We call that an enterprise zone, not a slush.
yeah, so, I mean, they have like a certain term for it, which I don't remember off the top of my head.
They're self-funded. They're self-funded.
Yeah, they're self-funding. And the woman I talked to, granted, I don't know how long she's been there. I want to think at least 5 years. But she started with this certain fund of only $5,000 in the beginning. They have $500,000 right now.
Wow.
Because of the programs they've done. And she said, again, and they have, she's like, we pay certain people out of this budget. She goes, we run our programs out of this budget. So she said, everything that we incur cost-wise, we use it to do that. So she said, so that way the town pays very little. And she goes, and it doesn't make the taxpayers pay more either. So, it's a great idea. It's just a matter of, we have to ask first from Sebago to say, what kind of budget can you give the rec department to be full-time, and then go from there, because that's going to be the biggest thing.
So budget season is starting probably in December,
Yeah, we're
right,
supposed to
Rich?
Start this month. but
We haven't heard yet.
Well, we don't have a town manager. and whatnot.
Well, we do.
Now.
We do. It's Maureen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's Maureen, okay.
Yeah, it's Maureen. Maureen got it. So if you could have any information, the two of you.
Yeah,
the
we had
committee,
circulated
for December 15th for our meeting.
we had circulated that budget number.
Yes, which is
before,
great.
So yeah, at least we have
Um,
that to go on.
Because then, are you still on the budget committee this year? So am I, so.
Yeah.
So we're on the town's budget committee too, so
Yeah.
small town.
It is.
So that would be information that when we meet next month, maybe we can have a discussion and or take action on at least approaching the select board
Sure.
with an idea.
Yeah. I don't
If
think-
we have an idea.
And it might not even need action, so let me just
Okay.
note that. The board goal was about the structure and process.
Mhm.
So for this committee, two committee members kind of have taken the lead, and you've been reporting back regularly at workshop on what you're learning. Is that process working for the committee right now? Do you feel like you know what's going on? Do you feel like you have the resources and time to get the task moved forward?
Nope.
Are you asking the entire?
I'm asking the committee, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that it's just a matter of gathering information and then sitting down as the school committee to have a discussion about it, throw some ideas out and see what we come up with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for Maggie, but I think probably Maggie and myself have both been pressed for time. And the reason why we don't want to really move things forward too fast is because our comparisons are with bigger communities, and we're not going to have that big of an ask, but we need to compare ourselves to other like communities so that when we go to the town and propose what we want to propose, it makes sense for everyone.
Right, right. What about, is getting a grant a possibility at all for this?
I have no idea.
When
I just bring that up because of,
save that thought,
okay,
bring that up at our December meeting. That's a good question.
okay.
Yeah.
We can do research between now and then.
I
So-
shared with you the Final Haven.
Wait, Chris and Wendy, you guys are the 6th grade committee,
Yes.
right?
And so this is a different model. This is one with the superintendent who
Yes.
took on facilitation of bringing people together to this year generate questions about what bringing it back would be, and then charging superintendent with going back out to get answers to as many as we can, bring it back to the board. So I have not been able to prioritize that.
Mhm.
We are going to be on it after the start of the new year.
Mhm.
I am committed to either Kathy or I being right on that. And it just, so that's a different model, Maggie and which is why I asked. You two are taking the lead on one. Superintendent should be taking the lead on the other. We'll have a comparison of how that works for the committee after we get through this year. It's a question of capacity.
So, but the two of you feel that it's not maybe the best process?
Well, I think what's hard is because Rich and I both agreed to help with this, but honestly, neither one of us really took the lead. We're just like, hey, you find out what you can, I'll find out what I can, but we have yet to have a meeting.
Right.
So, and like you said, I've kind of reached out. I know the school nurse was interested in helping, and I got one parent who reached out to me.
Mhm.
And so at this point, I'm like, well, if that's the 4 that we meet with, and that's what we'll go with. And like you said, maybe after the holidays, Rich and I will just say, okay, this is what we found. And we can start having, a couple of meetings here and there. But again, it's just we haven't done anything because we're not exactly sure what we're doing either. So,
So as far as the process,
Mhm.
we can improve it.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
that we will also discuss at
I think
a
so.
future meeting. Yeah.
I think so. And to know in that one, in that discussion, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. One of the beauties of our school committee is we meet once a month. One of the challenges is that makes it hard to do work like that.
Yes.
So I'm not making the next logical step, but that can be a constraint
Right.
in this process.
Not enough time.
So something to discuss.
Right.
Or dare I say, adding our subcommittee meetings to our perpetual calendar and just making up days and times and going from there.
Well, there's a thought.
Yeah, I think that it's been hard because we've had a lot of things that we're juggling, but having a specific more
Dedicated
time. Yeah, because really a month goes by and then, you haven't had a chance to really, you're just working on your own. And so if we have more scheduled meetings, it
Yeah,
might
I
be
mean,
helpful
It's
to
difficult because,
everybody.
our workshop happens the same day as our meeting.
I know.
At the same time as the workshop, you have a PTC meeting. It's just like everyone's fighting for the same time.
I know.
Okay. So all food for thought and future discussion.
Mhm.
C, develop and assess the Sebago School Committee Community Relations and Communication Procedure and Timeline.
So in August, concerned that the school committee was, if not operating in a vacuum, had room to grow in asking for and taking in feedback from the community, is where that one comes from.
Any comments, discussion?
Well, I think that the open house barbecue was a great way to bring everybody together.
Yes.
I also think the Fall Fest was. I think when you have an event, it brings people, not everybody, but at different times you'll get different people. And even the Lantern Parade, which is coming up on the 18th of December, that brings in people from all over the community, the children, and hopefully we would like to see more people maybe from the school participate if they're willing and able to come and join us. But I think that when we have kind of a community event that happens at the school, that does an awful lot. It goes a long way and it gets people interested and excited about what's going on here.
Yeah, I think, we also wanted to increase transparency and, the principal has been doing a good job with the newsletter and letting parents know what's going on at school, giving us updates. I think that's a real issue with the town and the town's been lacking in spreading those events. It doesn't have to happen on social media, but it would be nice to have a newsletter again. And, that's something we might want to take up with Maureen and try to share more information between the town and the school.
Great idea.
Just because it's been lacking.
Well, like you said, John's done a really good job even hiring another IT person to help with the website because the website prior was really hard to follow and to find anything, and it's much better. And like you said, when you send out the text to all the parents and it says, hey, there's a newsletter, it's updated, at least you're doing your part to say, hey, parents, there's something out there to read, and granted, you can't hold our hands. We have to do it ourselves, but at least now we're like, oh, okay, great. We'll go to the website, we'll go check it out and see what's going on.
And the good thing is I can monitor how many people have looked at the newsletter, which is nice. So I'm constantly on that just to see how many people are.
Yeah, I've discussed the same issue with the selectmen about the town's website, and that will be undergoing a big revamp, which would be great
Yes.
to see.
Yes,
No kidding.
much needed. Okay. I think that concludes
Fruitful meeting.
that right there. All right. Items for future agenda. I think we just built in quite a few. Did you miss? take
So-
notes?
The program is definitely coming back.
Mhm.
We know that we have 3-5 math presentation. If we want to go to the town around rec before after opportunities, it would make sense to have an agenda item on that here for our next meeting. So, yeah, I really don't think we need to take action. I just think we need to spend some time knowing what we're really asking or want to share. So rec, and then after school program.
What did I ask you to hold your thought till the next meeting?
Getting a grant for the before and after school care.
Grants. Yeah, possibility of grants. Okay.
'Cause Vinyl Haven, which is a very small community, that's what they did. And that's why I share that, because
Yes,
we do have something in common with them in the size that we are,
that's true.
and similar economic
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm.
Was there anything else?
I'm gonna put a superintendent search question mark, not sure.
Okay.
And we're getting that together in like 2 weeks.
Mhm. That's right.
So I'm not sure we're
Yeah.
super forward like it.
Do you want me to reach out?
If he, I don't hear from him,
If you don't hear from him,
yeah,
I can reach out.
great. And you definitely can do that.
Okay, information items, future meetings. We're having a workshop on Thursday, December 15th at 6 p.m. and a meeting same night at 7 p.m. And then in January, we're scheduled for Tuesday, January 24th, 6 p.m. workshop, 7 p.m. meeting. Doesn't actually say the time, but
It is.
that would be it.
Okay, great.
So I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
I'll
Hold
second
on,
it.
hold
Oh,
on.
hold on,
Hold
hold
on.
on,
This is
hold
like-
on.
Galen's gotta write this down. All right, motion by
Rich.
Rich, second by,
Indeed.
I'm sorry, you interrupted. Carry on.
Thank you, Secretary.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?